Hi everyone, welcome to today's class. In this 1.5-hour English lesson, I will demonstrate how to integrate reading, writing, and speaking skills using as a model. Engage, study, and activate with the heartwarming story, The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. So without further ado, let's dive into a lesson where love, sacrifice, and irony come alive in our classroom. But before anything else, I will introduce to you our learning objectives. So by the end of this lesson, students will be able to first articulate personal experiences related to meaningful gifts through a think, pair, share activity, and compose a short reflective journal entry that connects personal values to the story's themes of love and sacrifice. Second, analyze key elements of the gift of the Magi, the plot, the theme, the character actions, and irony by answering guided discussion questions and writing a first-person monologue from Jim's point of view. Third, demonstrate their understanding of the story's message by creating a personalized creative output. It could be a letter, vlogged, or dialogue that reflects the themes of love, sacrifice, and the irony in gift giving. So to warm up, I'm gonna ask my students, what is the most meaningful gift you've ever given or received? So let's begin with a think per share activity wherein students lean in and quietly discussing their responses to these questions to their seatmates. So at this part, I'm gonna give my students 5 minutes to do this response. So now I'll invite two students to share their responses. Let me have Sarah first. Okay, miss, last Christmas, I gave my father a hand-knit scarf. It wasn't perfect, but he wore it every day. He said it reminded him of my effort, and that made it more valuable than anything he could buy. Amazing. How about Eileen? I received miss a handwritten letter from my sister when I was going through a hard time. It was filled with encouragement and memories. That letter helped me strong again. So definitely, your answers are all beautiful. Gifts, claws, are not always material. Sometimes they are memories, moments, or acts of love. So at this part, I'm gonna give my students 5 minutes to write a journal entry answering this question. What makes a gift truly valuable? They should focus on sincerity, effort, and emotional connection. Alright, good job class for completing the task. So now let's proceed to analyzing the theme, character, and irony through reading a shortened version of the story, The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. So as I read aloud, you will also highlight any lines that express love or sacrifice and answer questions as we go along with our discussion. The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry, the short story version. So it was Christmas Eve. Delia had only $1.87 to buy a gift for her husband Jim. They were a poor couple living in a small apartment, but they loved each other deeply. So class, before we proceed to the second paragraph of the story, let us highlight first this line. Delia had only $1.87 to buy a gift for her husband Jim. So class, what does this tell us about Delia's situation? Any idea? Yes, Lorraine. Good job. This line shows that Delia is living in poverty, struggling to afford even a small gift for her husband. It also reflects her limited financial means. Alright, good job. And Lorraine, why is the amount as significant or important? And how does it also set the tone of the story? Alright, very good. The specific amount emphasizes the couple's financial hardship, and it also sets a tone of realism and emotional weight. It also introduces the theme of sacrifice and love despite poverty. Alright, spectacular answer, good job. So let's move on to the second line, or the line in the first paragraph. Another line of the first paragraph. They were a poor couple living in a small apartment, but they loved each other deeply. So class, what do you think is the contrast being presented in the sentence? They were a poor couple living in a small apartment, but they love each other deeply. Yes, Melje. The contrast means lies between material poverty and emotional richness. Although they lack wealth, they are also rich in love. Very good. And how does this line reflect the story's main theme? Alright, good job. This line now directly supports the story's central theme. True wealth lies not in possessions, but in love and selfless sacrifice. Very good. A round of applause to Melje. Now let's move on to the second paragraph of the story. So Delia wanted to give Jim something special. He had a beautiful gold pocket watch, but its chain was old and worn. She decided to sell her most prized possession, her long, beautiful hair. At the shop, she sold it for $20 and used the money to buy a fine chain for Jim's watch. Okay, let's stop here in the second paragraph. So on this line, she decided to sell her most prized possession, her long, beautiful hair. So class, why is this decision significant? Yes, or that is. This decision is significant because it demonstrates the extent of Delia's love and her willingness to sacrifice what she treasures most to bring happiness to Jim. Exactly. And what do you think does this reveal, or what does this reveal about Delia's character? Very good. It reveals that Delia is selfless, loving, and deeply devoted. Her actions also show courage and a pure heart. Good job. That was an amazing answer. So now let's proceed to the third paragraph of the story. So that evening, when Jim came home, he was shocked to see Delia's short hair. Then, with a gentle smile, he handed her a gift. It was a set of expensive combs she had long admired for her hair. So let's stop again at this paragraph we're in. Let's analyze what are they trying to emphasize in this line. It was a set of expensive combs she had long admired for her hair. What do you think, class? Jim chose this gift. Why do you think Jim chose this gift? Yes, ego. Very good. Jim chose this gift to bring joy to Delia and to show that he notices and values her dreams and desires. It's also a thoughtful and loving gesture from Jim. Good job. And what do you think, or how does this moment deepen the story's irony? Yes, Debbie? Good. The irony is that both gave up what was most important to them to buy something for the other, something that is now unusable. It also highlights the depth of their love and the twist of fate that makes their gifts both useless and priceless. Definitely, that's a great answer from Debbie. Good job. Now let's proceed to the last paragraph of the story. So Delia gave Jim the chain, but he only smiled again. He had sold his watch to buy the combs. Both had given up their greatest treasures for each other. Though their gifts could not be used, they realized they had given something far more valuable, which is their love and sacrifice for each other. That was a good ending by the story. So I would like to ask, in this line, he had sold his watch to buy the combs. How does this twist affect your understanding of the story? Yes, Kyla? Very good. This twist reinforces the theme of mutual sacrificing and emotional depth. It also shows how both characters were willing to give up their greatest treasures for each other. And what do you think, Kyla? Does it reveal about Jim's love for Delia? Very good. It reveals that Jim's love is just as selfless and genuine as Delia's. He also values her happiness over his own possessions. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good answer. And on this line also, on the last paragraph, they realize they had given something far more valuable, which is their love and sacrifice. So class, what message does this final line leave the reader with? Yes. Again, Melji? Very good. The line reminds us that true love is measured not by material gifts, but by selflessness and heartfelt sacrifices. It is a touching conclusion about the meaning of love. So class, in your opinion, did the gifts lose their meaning or gain more value? Yes, Anne. Very good. The gifts gained more value, though they became unusable at the end, but it symbolizes the depth of Jim and Delia's love and devotion, making them more meaningful than any functional item ever could be. Very insightful, everybody. Now, let's deepen our understanding with an individual test. So please rewrite the story's ending from Jim's point of view. Imagine how he felt when he saw Delia and her short hair. So at this part, you will be given 5 minutes to do the test monologue. Alright, who's ready to share their monologue? Alright, let's have Mary. So I stood at the door, the cat in my hand, in my heart, in my throat, her hair gone, my comms useless. But as I looked into her eyes, I realized we were richer than any king. Whoa, that was a good monologue from Mary. How about, yes, Nicole? I loved quietly, not because it was funny, but because in that moment I understood love. True love doesn't need gold or jewels. It only needs two hearts willing to give everything. Definitely, it really needs two hearts to give everything from each other. Now, it's your turn to create. So choose one of the following informative tasks. First, write a letter from Delia to Jim 10 years later. Record a 1-minute vlog-style video where Delia shares her story. Or third, compose a dialogue between Delia and her daughter about giving. Remember to think about how the story's themes love, sacrifice, and irony can be reflected in your work. So to close this session, what did you learn about love from the story? Alright, so let's hear a few voices from your classmates. Yes, Claire? Miss, I learned that love doesn't always mean keeping things. It sometimes means letting go of something for someone else's happiness. Very good insights from you. Now let's have another classmate. Now let's have another one. Okay, let's hear from Irish. Very good. It's not about the gift. It is about the thought and heart behind it. That's what makes something truly valuable. Exactly, class. And that's the power of literature. It teaches us truths that even time can't erase. Great job, everybody. A round of applause to yourself. So to finally close our session this morning, I would like to say thank you for joining our class today. We have truly engaged, studied, and activated our minds through O. Henry's timeless tale. Remember, the most valuable gifts don't come in boxes. They come from the heart. So see you in our next class. Bye!